I found a pet snake. Heard that male snakes have 2 reproductive organs, so I couldn't resist my curiosity and decided to verify its gender myself. After taking photos and sharing them with my childhood friend, her gaze toward me grew increasingly peculiar, and she started blushing more often. It wasn't until I accidentally caught her dragging a white snake tail out of the bathroom, its tip marked with a familiar red blotch, that I realized the white snake I'd nearly polished into a collectible wasn't just any snake. It was actually my childhood friend. I turned to run, but she pinned me against the door. Her cheeks flushed as she said, "You played with me, now you have to take responsibility." I picked up the white snake from the community park's greenery. It was entirely snow white, over 3 feet long, and radiated an aura of power. Its cold, slit pupils gave me a fleeting glance before it slid into my palm on its own. Such obedience, luckily. I had experience working part-time at a reptile pet store, so I knew how to care for pet snakes. Without hesitation, I cupped its belly and tucked it into my bag. If it weren't for the risk of scaring other residents in the elevator, I would have started admiring it right away. Its appearance was exceptional, pure white with a faint pink shimmer under dim lighting. As I left the elevator and pulled out my keys, my bag suddenly felt lighter. When I looked over, its tail tip was already tapping the smart lock of the apartment across from mine, Victoria's place. Her parents were on vacation, leaving her home alone. This snake must be magical, I thought. I quickly yanked it back, lightly tapped its head, and scolded, "Do you know who lives here? How dare you barge in like that? If she catches you, you'll end up as snake soup." Facing the surveillance camera outside her door, I waved apologetically, muttering, "Sorry, sorry." I even lifted my shirt to wipe her doorknob clean. I tapped the snake's head again. "You little troublemaker." Strangely, the snake stiffened momentarily, but then stretched its neck toward the password lock. Its tongue flicked against the keys, and I had to quickly coil it around my hand, scolding, "You naughty thing, just wait until I teach you a lesson." It suddenly went quiet. Still, I hurriedly apologized to the surveillance camera again before taking it home, shutting the door behind me. Touching its smooth scales, I was thrilled. I couldn't resist starting to play with it. At first, it tried to escape by craning its neck outward, but after some gentle stroking, it obediently coiled around my wrist, resting its head on my palm while flicking its tongue at me. As I joyfully played with it and recorded videos, I marveled at how beautiful white snakes are. Then I suddenly locked eyes with its reddish pupils. Strangely, I felt a mix of mockery and irritation in its gaze, as if it had human-like expressions. Was I hallucinating? I set up a transparent storage box for it and decided to take a shower. However, in the short time I grabbed my pajamas, it escaped 3 times. Worried it might roam around, I brought the storage box into the bathroom with me, never taking my eyes off it. After hastily finishing my shower, I found it curled into such a tight ball that even its head was hard to locate. Drying my hair, I teased it. It flicked its tongue and drooped its head. But the moment we made eye contact, it turned away and crawled to hide its head. What, shy now? Clearly, I hadn't played with it enough. I gently grabbed its belly and brought it back, accidentally brushing its tail tip with my fingers. It shuddered abruptly, and its tail curled around my pinky finger. I knew the tail and head were sensitive areas for snakes, but I couldn't help myself. I lightly tapped its tail tip and teased, "Little darling, are you a boy or a girl? Come on, let me check." Before it could react, I gently held its tail tip and rolled my fingers upward. It twisted in rebellion, almost wringing itself into a knot around my wrist. But as a seasoned snake handler, I wasn't about to let it escape. I carefully pressed its tail tip, and besides a bit of liquid, there was nothing else. "Ah, so you're a little lady," I said, stroking it comfortingly. "You're still adorable. Look at this beautiful tail, isn't it?" The next moment it bared its fangs and bit my arm, drawing blood instantly. My scream echoed throughout the apartment. The next morning when I woke up, my beloved white snake was gone. I nearly lost my mind. I followed the traces of its escape, leading me to the guest room. As I opened the door, I found myself staring into the reddened eyes of Victoria. "Jesus," I exclaimed, startled. "Why are you here?" She glared at me angrily, her ears tinged with red. Not wasting time, I pulled up the photos on my phone and shoved them in her face. "Have you seen this little white snake?" I asked eagerly. Her face and neck turned crimson, almost indistinguishable from raw pork liver. What was she blushing for? Looking down, I realized, oops. The photo showed me holding the snake by its tail. Embarrassed but unfazed, I quickly swiped to the next image. Before I could show her again, Victoria snatched my phone. I thought she wanted to take a closer look and help me find the snake. Instead, she deleted all the photos I had painstakingly taken the night before. In a fit of anger, I lashed out, "Why did you delete my content?" I needed to make an educational video on how to distinguish between male and female snakes as Victoria's face turned red as she shot me an enraged glare. "You want to post it? Don't even think about it," she barked, her entire demeanor radiating fury as she sped up deleting the files. Panicking, I grabbed her wrist to wrestle the phone away. She glared at me and, taking advantage of my momentary daze, jumped onto the bed. No matter how much I stretched, I couldn't reach her. Frustrated, I snapped again. "Why? I spent all night trying to get this done. Can't you respect my hard work, even if it's just a little female snake and nothing came of it?" Hearing this, Melody's ears turned crimson, nearly dripping blood. She kicked me square in the face, and as I looked up at her, I couldn't help but gulp. Honestly, in this moment, she looked irresistibly alluring, her flushed cheeks adding to the effect. Damn it, does she even realize I've been secretly crushing on her? Can she have a little bit of restraint? My tone softened, and I lowered my gaze, not daring to meet her eyes. I just filmed a cute little snake. You don't have to go this far. I know you're embarrassed now, but can't you just—" "Go to hell, Liam," she interrupted, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and embarrassment. She stepped on me and nearly fell. Instinctively, I supported her calf and lifted her down. She gritted her teeth slightly, saying, "It's my snake." Determined to retrieve my phone, I grabbed her wrist again. "Just because you say it's yours doesn't make it so. Where's the proof?" To my surprise, she actually had evidence photos of Snowflake as a baby snake and more. "Fine, it's hers. So what? I can adapt." I slid to the floor, hugging her leg tightly. "Can't you just let me play with it for a bit, please?" Without hesitation, she refused. "No, it's not appropriate." "Not appropriate?" More like she doesn't want to share heartbroken at losing the chance to bond with Snowflake. I reluctantly finished my paid snake petting session. As I waved goodbye to the store's white boa constrictor, I sluggishly stepped outside and saw Melody waiting for me on her scooter. I turned away resolutely. Unless she agreed to let me visit Snowflake, I wasn't going back. Forget it, I'll beg her instead. A real man knows when to yield. As she rode up to me, preparing to say something, someone suddenly called my name from behind. Liam, turning around, I saw a tall girl waving at me with a smile. It was Chloe. I hadn't expected to run into her here. Chloe and I were both in the student council and had met through a hometown networking group. "What are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. She smiled shyly. "My house is nearby. I remembered you mentioned in your social media post that you were working part-time around here, so I thought I might run into you. Looks like I was right. What a coincidence." "Yeah, it really is," I replied. She glanced at Melody, who stood beside me, and asked, "And this is?" Melody smirked in a way that sent chills down my spine. She was definitely about to stir up trouble again. Just as I was about to speak, she cut me off. "Oh, brother, is this your girlfriend? But I thought she looked different last week." Here we go. I knew she was up to no good. Last semester, she pulled a stunt like this. One time, she showed up with peaches her godmother had sent, and as she handed them to me, she caught a classmate confessing her feelings to me. After I rejected the girl, she wouldn't stop crying. Desperate, I looked to Melody for help, but she marched over, grabbed my arm, and declared, "Son, is this your classmate? Didn't you say you only liked your stepmom?" The girl instantly stopped crying, but her gaze toward me became utterly bizarre. From then on, another legend about me spread across campus. Chloe didn't think much of her comment and sweetly laughed. "Oh, so you're Liam's little sister. Nice to meet you, you're so pretty." Melody's smile shifted to me, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I pulled out my phone and sent her a message. "Why aren't you smiling, sis? Is it because you naturally don't like to smile? Melody parked her scooter and walked up behind me, gripping my shoulders as she mockingly said, "Brother, you work so hard to support me. Let me give you a shoulder massage." Damn, why is her strength so intense? My face nearly contorted from the pain. "Thanks a lot," I muttered. Chloe, seemingly oblivious, looked at us with admiration. "You and your sister have such a great relationship." "Seriously, Chloe, are you even listening?" "Oh, Liam, didn't you say you liked White King snakes? My friend's store just got a new batch. Want to check them out?" At the mention of snakes, I couldn't contain my excitement. "Really? Yes, let's go. I've wanted to own a snake for ages, but my mom won't even let me have a dog, let alone a snake. My dorm is even worse. My roommates are scared of chicks, so imagine how they'd react to a snake. That's why I can only satisfy my cravings by working part-time at a reptile pet store." Chloe enthusiastically pulled out her phone to show me pictures, including one of a newly hatched two-headed snake. The sidewalk on both sides of the street was narrow, and Chloe walked beside me as Melody trailed behind in silence. The whole way I couldn't shake the feeling of an icy chill on my back. Chloe's friend's store was just across the street from where I worked, a new shop with more space and a wider variety of snakes. I eagerly played with a white boa constrictor, letting it coil around my hands. When I glanced up, I caught Melody's piercing gaze. For some reason, I felt a pang of grievance, and as I absent-mindedly stroked the snake's head, I couldn't help but wonder what was going through her mind. I carefully placed it back into the terrarium. Chloe suddenly asked, "Which one do you like? I'll give it to you." "What? Oh no, I couldn't possibly accept that. Besides, I wouldn't be able to take care of it." I started to decline when, out of nowhere, there was a loud crash behind me, accompanied by a sharp yelp of pain. Turning around, I saw Melody sprawled on the floor, having tripped over a chair. Her ankle was already swelling to an alarming size, looking absolutely terrifying. I rushed to her side, helping her sit up while making sure not to touch her injury. Yet, out of habit, I couldn't help but tease her. "Seriously, are you okay? How do you even manage to trip on flat ground?" Melody, ever the delicate one, had been pampered since childhood. She was allergic to many medications, so her family had a personal doctor on call. She forced a half smile, her tone somewhere between nonchalant and sarcastic. "I'm fine. It's just a swollen ankle, no big deal. Worst case, I just can't walk. Besides, it's not like I'm delaying anything important. Unlike your precious snakes. That's your prized possession after all, right?" Oh no, she was mad, and I was definitely in trouble. Under the awkward gaze of Chloe, I managed to plaster on a stiff smile, said a quick goodbye, and practically sprinted out while half dragging the limping Melody along to grab my electric scooter and take her home. I knew if I delayed even a second longer, she'd glare a hole right through me. After Uncle Jack, their family doctor, had taken a look at her injury, I sat off to the side, scrolling through a video Chloe had sent me. It was so funny I couldn't stop laughing, my cheeks hurting from the grin plastered on my face. "What are you looking at?" Melody asked, her voice low and muffled as she leaned closer, resting her chin on my shoulder. Maybe it was the bad mood from her twisted ankle, but her hair brushed against my cheek, and I froze instantly. "Snakes," I replied, a bit sulky. "You won't even let me touch Snowflake. Am I not allowed to satisfy my curiosity with other snakes?" Melody's face flushed slightly as she stammered. "I guess. Letting you take care of Snowflake for a few days wouldn't be impossible." My eyes lit up instantly, but before I could respond, her face turned an even deeper shade of red as she glared at me. "But, and I mean this, you're not allowed to mess around with my precious little snake," I quickly swore, raising a hand as though taking an oath. "I promise I won't. I'm not some reckless idiot, you know." Melody gave me a cold smile, fixing me with a sharp gaze. "You better not be." Finally, Snowflake was back in my hands. Bad news, my parents were back from their business trip. Good news, I could still head over to Chloe's place to hang out with Snowflake. Oddly enough, every time I visited Chloe's house to play with her snake, she wasn't around. She'd always say she was busy with some tutoring job. Honestly, her absence was a blessing. It meant I could play with Snowflake as much as I wanted. I'd gently tug on the tip of its tail, watching as it quivered slightly. The excitement was almost overwhelming. How could Snowflake be this incredible? So gorgeous, so perfect. I'd coil it around my hands, first one, then both, until it slithered up and wrapped tightly around my wrists. Sometimes it would leave faint red marks from squeezing a little too hard. I couldn't help but squeal with delight. Snake cuffs, snake hugs, more, I muttered to myself, completely engrossed, until Snowflake suddenly flicked its tail and smacked me across the face. Within just 2 weeks, my entire video feed was filled with clips of Snowflake. Every time Chloe invited me over to see her snake, Snowflake would wrap itself around my wrist as though it was claiming me. And every single time, I'd forget everything else, including Chloe herself. That evening, I had just finished dinner and was about to head to Chloe's house when my mom stopped me. She stuffed something into my pocket and said cryptically, "I don't interfere with your personal life, but make sure you protect yourself." Wait, could she have found out that I was sneaking out to play with Snowflake? I resolved to be even sneakier next time. As I stepped through the door at Chloe's place, I heard the sound of running water from the bathroom. I was just about to shout and give her a playful scare when the bathroom door opened. A wave of steam rolled out, and there stood Melody, sliding out gracefully, dragging behind her a long white tail. I froze. It was enormous. "Holy," I blurted out before catching myself. Melody was a snake. I spun on my heel, ready to bolt, but her wet, glistening tail coiled around my waist in an instant, pinning me against the door. The tip of her tail, marked with a familiar red spot, made my heart sink. So it was her. My childhood best friend was the very king snake I'd been obsessing over. Running away? "I thought you liked touching it," Melody purred, her voice dripping with allure. Her hand rested lightly on my shoulder, and her breath warmed the back of my neck, sending shivers down my spine. I'd never been in a situation like this before. I was out of my depth, and I knew it. Her tail tightened around me, snaking beneath the hem of my shirt and pressing its cold surface against my lower back. What are you doing?" I stammered, my voice trembling as my survival instincts kicked into high gear. With trembling hands, I lightly grabbed the tip of her tail, attempting to pry it off. "You played with me," Melody murmured, her voice laced with a strange mix of frustration and vulnerability. "Now you have to take responsibility." Take responsibility? For what? My mind raced as panic set in. I will, I blurted out, desperate. Could you maybe let go of me first?" Melody sighed in frustration. "I can't. You've been teasing me so much these past few weeks that I've entered, well, a mating cycle." "What?" My jaw dropped. "A mating cycle? I didn't even know this was a thing." At some point, Melody had reached into my pocket and pulled out a small foil packet. She held it up, examining it with a sly grin. "So this is why you came over so early tonight," she teased. "Tired of playing with my snake and looking to play with me instead?" My face burned with embarrassment. No, that's not weight. Why is that in my pocket?" I snatched the foil packet away, blurting out, "Don't make it sound so real. If only I could dig a hole and bury myself in it right now." "Listen to me, I can explain." I was on the verge of tears, but before I could say more, she wrapped me up and rolled us both onto the bed. It used to be me playing with a snake, but now the snake was playing with me. Honestly, it was a fascinating experience. Her white tail shimmered with a soft, iridescent pink at the edges, and the tip of her tail hooked around my pinky finger, curling tighter and tighter, like a little animal begging for comfort. Forced into close proximity, I couldn't help but notice the pearly white scales adorning Melody's waist. The temptation was too great. I reached out and gave them a poke. Soft, really soft. The texture was so unexpectedly pleasant that I couldn't stop myself from poking again. Who would have thought? Melody, who always looked so slender, actually had an amazing figure. Suddenly she grabbed my hand. Her damp eyelashes trembled slightly as she whispered, I want to climb on your back." "What? Absolutely not. How could I even still consider myself human if I gave in to something like that?" My sanity was teetering on the edge. I internally cursed myself for even entertaining the thought. Her voice came out muffled and low. This is my first mating season since becoming an adult. I'm just a clueless little snake. I stiffened. Tears welled up in my eyes as I tried to resist. Let me tell you right now, pouting and acting cute won't work, she pouted, eyes glistening pitifully. Well then, what about a kiss? Can I at least have a kiss? Her watery, vulnerable gaze struck me right in the heart. How was I supposed to endure this? Who could endure this? Melody and I had known each other since we were kids, but we didn't exactly start out as friends. When we first met, she mistook me for a pretty little girl and, without hesitation, grabbed my face and planted a big kiss on me. This beautiful little girl, did Mom have a secret daughter just for me? I shoved her away in disgust, loudly expressing my disdain with a dramatic ugh, but she just rolled up her sleeves, pinned me to the ground, and smothered me with more kisses. Help, she was going to kiss me to death. Even after she found out I was a boy, she didn't stop. She was taller and stronger than me, so she'd force me into little dresses and use me as her living doll for dress-up games. If I tried to yell, she'd bite my mouth. If I tried to tear the dress, she'd bite my hand. If I tried to run away, she'd cling to my legs and bite those too. Each bite left a perfect little tooth mark. Eventually, I just broke down crying. She grinned at me, showing off her tiny white teeth. From that moment on, I swore to never be her human doll. As we grew older, the dynamic shifted a little. One summer I went abroad for vacation, and when I came back, I was practically unrecognizable. I'd gotten taller, more muscular, even a little tan, and the baby fat on my face had melted away. I was no longer the little boy she used to tease. I was now a cool, aloof teenager. When she saw me, she burst into tears, demanding that I give her pretty little sister back. I just turned and walked away, leaving her with nothing but my cold, indifferent back. She was so furious she ignored me for an entire month. It wasn't until I blushed, put on a dress, and apologized that she forgave me. By the time we reached middle school, we had a mutual, unspoken agreement to never mention those embarrassing childhood memories again, but we still bickered constantly. Never in my wildest dreams did I think one day I'd want to kiss her. And not just want to, I actually did it. And the craziest part, she made the first move. Kissing your childhood friend feels surreal. Her lips were cool and jelly-like, and I couldn't resist taking a little nibble. Her tail tightened around me even more. She gasped, her face flushed, and called out my name. Liam. Who could handle this? Not me. I flipped us over, sitting on her tail. I could tell she was inexperienced. She even bit my lip so hard it bled. I was about to retaliate when a sudden wave of dizziness hit me, and everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, hooked up to, and fourth Uncle Jack was sitting beside me. He told me Melody had been taken away by the Paranormal Affairs Bureau for quarantine. So she's a white snake demon? I asked. Uncle Jack nodded. My inner nerd immediately awakened. Can she fly? Does she have magic powers? Can she turn rocks into gold? Can she teach me? I was practically bouncing with excitement, my mind racing with all the possibilities. Uncle Jack gave me a deadpan look. No. Those kinds of abilities were banned ages ago. Nowadays, creatures like us who can take human form are simply called beast folk. My excitement deflated instantly. The next day, Melody's parents returned from their vacation. I went over to check on her and brought along some grilled fish as a gift. Her mom waved me off with a sigh. Mimi's situation is pretty serious this time. She won't be out for at least 10 days, maybe even 2 weeks. I couldn't help but gasp. That bad? My mom, who had come along to drop off some green onions, overheard and shouted, What? Mimi got thrown in jail? Melody's mom remained calm. Not quite, she's just being held for a while to learn her lesson. She bit someone after all. I froze. There was no way I could tell my mom that the someone she bit was me and that she bit my lip no less. But my mom, always the worrier, immediately started fretting. Back home, she pulled me aside and whispered, Do you think this whole ordeal will affect Mimi's chances of getting a government job in the future? I was speechless. Then, with a determined look, she grabbed my hand. Here's what we'll do. When you two get married, the house and all the money will be hers. But don't register the marriage officially. That way, It won't affect the kids later on. Mom, seriously? Have you even considered my feelings in this? Heartbroken over losing my beloved snake, I turned to the internet to vent, and naturally, to my private social media account that only Melody could see. Day 1 without Snowflake, I miss her. Attached, a broken heart emoji. Day 2 without Snowflake, left and right, I'm surrounded by snakes. Is this karma? Attached, a video of me holding a corn snake in each hand, my voice high-pitched and whiny. Day 3 without Snowflake. Oh, look at this big scary snake, I love it so much, around my neck you go. Day 4 without Snowflake. Who needs one snake when you can have an entire forest? Feeling smug. Day 7 without Snowflake. Snake cuddles complete. Late night barbecue invitation. When Melody's video call came through, I was out enjoying a barbecue. As soon as I answered, I saw Snowflake, a little white snake, hissing at the screen with its tongue out. Its eyes were half-lidded, giving it a pitiful appearance. However, the moment Chloe's face partially appeared in the frame, Snowflake froze, then suddenly switched to attack mode, craning its head forward as if it was ready to lunge at any second. Big Lee, try this grilled beef fat. It's the best here, melts in your mouth with a rich buttery flavor, Chloe said, placing a skewer of beef fat in front of me. Snowflake's eyes turned crimson, glaring down with a touch of menace, as if it wished it could leap out of the screen. Originally, this barbecue was planned with some colleagues from my part-time job, but on the way we bumped into Chloe and her friends. She mentioned knowing an amazing old barbecue spot, and as food enthusiasts, we couldn't resist joining them. As we enjoyed the meal, Chloe furrowed her brows and said with concern, "Is this the infamous Snowflake you've been raising? It seems overly aggressive. Have you considered swapping it for a more docile snake, like a rosy boa? They're pink and pretty cute." On the other end of the video call, Melody grew visibly more agitated. Snowflake's tail smacked the screen repeatedly, and it spat at Chloe's face whenever she came into view. Chloe's brows furrowed even deeper. "Is it always like this? Maybe you should see a vet." "No need, I like it just the way it is," I replied. Then I turned to the screen and said, "Hold tight, I'll be home soon." Snowflake flicked its tail one last time and abruptly hung up the call. "Such a temper, 7 days without talking to me, let's see if you can survive," Melody had declared. Whether she was angered to death, I couldn't say, but I was on the verge of losing it. I spammed her with messages. 7 days, 7 whole days, not a single word from you, woman. You only loved me for a fleeting moment. After the barbecue ended, Chloe invited me to wander around the night market with her. I declined, eager to get home. Speeding down the road on my moped, I raced back. Just as I was about to call Melody, I opened my phone to find it bombarded with her messages. "Was the barbecue good? Man, do you even deserve my affection over these past 2 weeks? How you call that a big snake? Is it bigger than me? Let me tell you, Liam, you'll regret ever touching me. Don't even think about it next time. Why aren't you replying? Was the barbecue that delicious? You think a rosy boa is better? Those snakes only know how to play dead. Who can compare to me? Half human, half snake, and drop dead gorgeous. Liam, you've lost big time. Blocked, go eat your barbecue." Reading these messages, I burst into laughter, rolling around on my bed. "Oh, jealous, are we? You're absolutely smitten with me, aren't you?" I teased. But when I tried to call her, I realized she had truly blocked me. My grin disappeared instantly. I couldn't laugh anymore. Damn it, this was my fault. I launched a full-scale bombardment on her through Messenger. "Please, Melody, unblock me, just one chance, pretty please." On the second day of our Cold War, my godmother entrusted her daughter to me. She dabbed at her tears with tissues, saying, "The doctor says Mimi isn't doing well and is showing signs of withdrawal." Withdrawal? Melody? Is this some new scam? I was still confused when my godmother grabbed my hand. "She needs your comfort right now. You know how shy she is. She's always been attached to you." Cough. I felt a pang of guilt. How could I tell my godmother that as kids it was actually Melody who used brute force to make me her little sidekick? I was the one clinging to her. I glanced at the curled-up creature in the terrarium and poked it with my finger. In a flash, it wrapped itself around my wrist. My godmother instantly stopped crying, grabbed her suitcase, and broke into a radiant smile. Liam, I'm counting on you. Just check on her occasionally. As long as she's alive, that's good enough. Godmother, could you at least pretend to care for another second? Are you really abandoning your daughter for a vacation? With a loud bang, the room was left with one man and one snake. Melody slyly hooked her tail around my finger, her tongue flicking out to lick my wrist in a placating manner. Who could understand? Every time I saw her tail, I couldn't help but think of that day when I had personally squeezed it out. My face flushed bright red. I was doomed. I hid Melody in a canvas bag and smuggled her into my room, away from my mom's watchful eyes. Later that night, after showering, I walked out in my pajamas to find Snowflake coiled on my bed, gazing at me expectantly. There was no trace of withdrawal in her demeanor. As I dried my hair, Melody suddenly hid her head beneath her belly, and then it hit me. That day, I had accidentally brought her into the bathroom while bathing. My face heated uncontrollably. Melody peeked out, half her head exposed, sneaking glances at me. My hair-drying motions grew increasingly awkward. Come on, Liam, you're a man with the courage of an eagle. What's there to be embarrassed about? Just go for it. I berated myself internally. Besides, hadn't I technically seen everything already? After drying my hair, I climbed into bed, ready to feign death. No, I mean sleep. But Melody's tail tip-tap tapped on her phone screen. To communicate, she dragged her phone over and typed out, "Why won't you cuddle with me anymore? Have you really fallen for the rosy boa? What does she have that I don't?" "Sleep," I replied curtly. And with that, Melody sank into an emotional spiral. I started by leaning against the window, gazing at the moon. She was sprawled out on her stomach, and I hoisted her up by her belly and pulled her back. She spun around in a full 180-degree turn. I twisted my wrist to coil her back into my grasp. Kisses. Fine, kisses will do, right? I gently brushed my lips against her head. She shyly buried her head into her own belly again. With mixed emotions, I placed her beside my pillow, turned off the lights, and went to sleep. In the middle of the night, I was sleeping soundly when I suddenly felt a scratch on my palm. Something cold pressed against me. Opening my eyes, I was startled to see Melody's face magnified inches from mine. She was holding my finger, unlocking my phone to re-add herself on WeChat, seemingly trying to surprise me. I silently watched her complete her mission, then whispered, "So, you're not pretending to be a snake anymore?" Melody froze for a moment before quickly shoving her beautiful snake tail into my hand. "Here, play with it," she said, blushing. "Not only is it thick, but it's also super long. Regular snakes can't compare." I lifted the blanket for a quick peek and my face turned crimson as well. "Mom, I'm in love." After finishing my last day at work and collecting my paycheck, I had dinner with my coworkers to celebrate our goodbyes. The next week, I was set to head back to school. Melody had already bought my ticket over a month ago just to ensure we'd get one. A few days before leaving, I played a basketball game with my buddies. Unfortunately, I twisted my ankle. Thinking it wasn't a big deal, I ignored it. That's just how I am. I need to suffer a bit before realizing my life might be at stake. By the time I finally went to the hospital, the injury had worsened into a fracture. Now I was curled up in pain, feeling sorry for myself, while Melody went to buy water for me. I lay there, barely hanging on, when Chloe suddenly appeared in front of me, dragging her suitcase. "Liam, what happened to you?" My foot hurt so much that I didn't even want to talk. I shook my head weakly and replied, "Nothing. You don't look so good. Are you sure you're okay?" She put down her backpack and was about to sit down when Melody came rushing back. She tossed the water she'd bought into my arms, clearly upset, and squeezed herself into the spot beside me. "He's fine. As long as I'm here, he's fine. He still has to work hard to earn lots of money to support me after all," Melody said pointedly. Chloe awkwardly scooted over a bit. "Is your brother really okay?" she asked, leaning closer. "He's fine," Melody replied nonchalantly. "He just broke a leg from too much two-timing. Serves him right for not saying a word about it." Chloe let out a couple of ohs, not daring to ask further. I lay there half dead, listening to their casual chatter. "Hey, how about I add you on WeChat?" Chloe asked Melody. "Sure," Melody said with a smile. "Let me scan you." I remembered that when Melody was buying my ticket, Chloe had offered to buy hers with mine to travel together. Melody had immediately turned her down, saying she was too introverted to deal with social situations. Yet now, here she was, cheerfully exchanging WeChat info. Once we got on the train, I put on my cap and turned into a socially withdrawn mushroom, dozing off until I felt somewhat better. When I opened my eyes, I saw Melody furiously typing on her phone. "What's wrong?" I asked. She quickly locked her phone, but not before I caught a glimpse of Chloe's profile picture. "Did she upset you? Want me to block her for you?" "No need," she said lightly. Then, with a sweet yet threatening smile, she added, "But if you ever dare two-time me, I'll break all 3 of your legs." I nodded vigorously, terrified. When the train arrived at its destination, I was back to full health. Melody walked away quickly, hopping onto the campus shuttle without a backward glance, heading straight for the girls' dorm. Watching her leave, I humbly pulled out my phone and texted her, "You'll miss me, right?" Just then, a notification from Chloe popped up. "Want to hang out tonight?" "I'm meeting up with my dorm brothers. Maybe next time," I replied. She sent a sad emoji, then quickly unsent it. "All right, next time then. Tisk." I think I finally understood why Melody was upset. Soon after school started, it was welcome week. Both Chloe and I were part of the student council, volunteering to help freshmen with their enrollment procedures. Inevitably, we had to interact. It was a scorching summer afternoon, and I was sitting in the shade, fanning myself with the campus map. My mini fan had run out of battery earlier that morning and was recharging back in the dorm. Freshmen trickled in one by one, and I walked a few of them to their destinations under a large sun umbrella. By the time I returned to our base camp, I was drenched in sweat. That's when Melody showed up, riding a bright red electric scooter, looking absolutely radiant and impossible to ignore. She stopped right in front of me, smugly holding out a cup of iced lemonade. "Senior, you've worked hard. Have some." After handing me the drink, she zipped away at lightning speed, calling out, "Keep it up, Senior." A few days ago, Melody and I had argued on WeChat. I just wanted to snuggle, but she had turned me down. All I wanted was to touch her snake tail. I swear I was being completely innocent. My fellow volunteers noticed the spectacle and pulled me aside to whisper, "Hey, isn't that Melody from the computer science department? She's the campus beauty, right? Liam, you know her?" "She's my girlfriend," I said, gulping down half the bottle of water and screwing the cap back on tightly, ignoring their nosy gossip. One of the girls teased, "But she called you senior. Aren't you guys the same year?" Someone else leaned in to whisper, "I heard her family situation is pretty complicated." "Oh, like what?" "I heard she has a kid around her age and even chased him all the way to school." "What? That's insane, Liam. You know her. Is that true?" My face darkened instantly. "Sorry to disappoint you, but that kid is me. We're just a couple who like to joke around. Next time, don't spread nonsense like that." The guy laughed awkwardly. "Got it. Won't happen again." "We were just kidding. Nothing serious." Melody arrived back on her little scooter carrying a big box of chilled watermelon and a large bag of iced mung bean desserts. "Here, it's for you," she said in a delightfully proud tone that I couldn't help but love. Instantly, all the gossiping gazes in the greenhouse turned toward me. After distributing the mung bean treats, Melody leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "Don't be mad anymore, okay?" I snorted in response. "Just give me a kiss and we're good." She dismissed me with a flying kiss emoji over text. "Do you think that's enough? Guess I really don't deserve love," I sighed to myself. We sipped on iced mung bean desserts as Chloe and other volunteers arrived to switch shifts after lunch. Before leaving, Chloe confirmed the dinner location for tonight. Melody grabbed my arm and pulled me close, smiling mischievously at Chloe. "Hey, mind if I tag along as family?" she asked. The girls around us exchanged knowing looks, their expressions filled with the excitement of juicy gossip. It felt like we were the foxes caught in a melon patch. I wanted to bury my face in my hands. Everyone knew Chloe had been pursuing me. She made it clear during a group dinner after the semester started, but I gently turned her down and even blocked her on social media. Somehow, word got out, and soon the entire department was buzzing about it. I saw Chloe's overly gracious smile, "Of course you're more than welcome," and immediately noticed the shock on everyone's faces. Only I knew the truth. Chloe, the sweet and naive girl, genuinely thought Melody was like my younger sister. "Someone please save me from this mess." At the dinner, Melody made sure to sit right next to me. Chloe, on the other hand, was seated on my other side. Thanks to her friends who were clearly orchestrating the seating arrangement, the spotlight of gossip flared between the three of us, sweeping back and forth like a searchlight. I kept my head down, focusing on my food, trying to avoid giving them any more reason to speculate. As always, Chloe was the life of the party, raising the energy in the room. "Can your little sister drink?" she teased. Melody, whose drinking tolerance was notoriously bad, half a glass would knock her out, surprisingly didn't refuse the offer. As expected, she got tipsy. As I tried to help her leave, she suddenly grabbed onto me with a commanding tone. "Didn't you want that kiss?" she asked, leaning in dangerously close. The gossip radar instantly locked onto us, the excitement in their eyes practically setting me on fire. Chloe, who tried to adjust her plastic chair, almost fell over. Her stunned gaze turned to Melody and she stammered, "Wait, aren't you Liam's sister?" Melody firmly took my hand and declared, "Yes, exactly. I'm his adopted little sister from a different family." Awkwardly clutching Melody's bag, I let out a nervous laugh. Right." Facing the blazing curiosity in their eyes and Chloe's shattered expression, I quickly led my girlfriend out of the restaurant. Yet somehow, amidst the embarrassment, there was also a strange sense of warmth. Was this her way of making things official? My face couldn't stop smiling. In the taxi, I leaned closer and whispered in her ear, "Can we cuddle tonight?" Her flushed face turned even redder as she manually turned my head away. "No way. If you don't go back to your dorm, rumors will spread everywhere tomorrow. We've already been seen, hugged and everything, yet you still want a kiss?" "I don't care." "I want it," I protested. And finally, I got the kiss I wanted. My heart raced uncontrollably. When I returned to the dorm, my roommates surrounded me in no time. "Liam, you're keeping all the good stuff from us. Spill the tea. What's going on between you and Melody?" The speed at which gossip traveled was nothing short of amazing. Blushing furiously, I stammered, "It's just what you think it is." "What do you mean by that? Yes or no, Liam?" Dodging their questions, I bolted to the bathroom. "She hasn't agreed to go public yet," I shouted over the noise. Another round of teasing erupted. "Ooh, someone's in love." Early the next morning, I went to find Melody. Overnight, the video of her drunkenly hugging me and demanding a kiss had been posted on the campus confession wall. Some people shipped us hard, while others spewed hateful comments. I immediately messaged the admin to take it down. With a bouquet of sunflowers in hand, I went to pick up my girlfriend for her morning class. If she doesn't see me when she wakes up, she'll be upset, I thought. It didn't take long to spot Melody walking out of the girls' dorm, arms full of books. Her roommates giggled and teased her, "Oh, look who's lucky enough to have a boyfriend escort her to an 8 a.m. class," as they waved goodbye, leaving us alone. I handed her the flowers and said, "These are for you, and your hand is mine." She held the bouquet tightly, her face lighting up with joy. This overwhelming sweetness, what a dangerous thing to taste.